Hi everybody and welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about a very highly requested video, highly requested subject matter. It's how to wean a toddler from breastfeeding. Now, my situation is somewhat unique in that my daughter is just nearly 22 months old and we co-sleep, we bed share, family bed. So just adding a different dynamic and a couple of extra variables in the weaning process. I will start with saying that when I was looking for resources on suggestions or tips and tricks on how to actually wean a toddler, there wasn't a lot for people in my situation. So I'll back it up a bit and I'll just give you a little bit of history on my decision and how I came to deciding it was time to end my breastfeeding relationship. Now, being that Esme is 22 months old, we've had a long go. And my goal was always to get to 1 year. It was like, get to 1 year and then we can be done, you know, and we'll just go with the flow and see how Esme's doing. When she turned 1, I thought, okay, let's see what's going on. But you know what? There was no slowing down. She was still nursing to sleep at both nap time and bedtime and several times throughout the day. And I thought, you know what? She's not ready. I had kind of tried to start cutting out some feedings throughout the day just to kind of give myself a little bit of a break. And to be perfectly honest, she was not ready. It totally backfired. We had a couple of long nights. And I did read that when you're trying to wean a breastfed baby, if you start to get that kind of reaction where, you know, they're acting out at night or they're just not sleeping or they're super attached to you, then maybe slow down your weaning process, like the child is not quite ready. And I have taken a somewhat gentle approach to parenting since the get-go, and so I didn't really see myself stopping that and like switching to a cry it out method at this point. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. We fell pregnant with our baby number 2, and I am pregnant right now. I'm 19 weeks. Yeah, I'm in my 19th week. So, or 20 weeks. Anyways, the weeks get confusing. But basically, when we fell pregnant, Esme was about 18 months old, and I said to myself, I definitely don't want to be doing any tandem nursing, which by the way means breastfeeding 2 children, not necessarily at the same time, but still providing nourishment for 2 children. Wasn't interested in that, and I knew that I had to come up with some sort of solution to help me wean Esme and to help her. I mean, it wasn't just weaning, it's help her fall asleep on her own, help her transition from, you know, sharing a bed with mommy to getting into her own bed. Like, there's a lot going on right now and a lot at play, and I started to feel a little bit overwhelmed. I then sat down with my husband and said, okay, we need to come up with a game plan. I, the mommy, have been the one that has been in charge of the nighttime process, not the bathing and all of that stuff. Daddy helps with that, but with the actual going to bed. It basically involved laying down with Esme in bed, nursing her until she fell asleep. It's pretty easy until you decide to stop doing that. We discussed it and we said, okay, let's try to come up with some sort of gentle method. Could not find anything that was going to help me with this gentle method. There is like this whole group of attachment parenting, which all the power to them, just basically says breastfeed the child until they're ready to stop. Well, the whole thing is I'm ready to stop. And there also comes a point that it is a relationship. It's 2 people. It's the mommy and it's the baby. And if it stops working for either partner, then I think you really need to come up with a solution to help you get to the next level. And I was at that level. It's not always a sad story when one is ending their breastfeeding relationship, and you don't need to feel sad about it. Sometimes it's just done. And I think that every day that you spent breastfeeding is amazing and you've done a wonderful job. So pat yourself on the back. Basically, it got to a point where she started to wake up every hour from midnight onwards. And we usually go to bed, like she'll be in bed by 8, usually asleep by 8:30, and then up for the day by 7:30. This seriously started to take a toll, especially since I'm pregnant and I'm thinking, I physically cannot handle this. Like, it was just becoming too much. I started to become really angry. And in my mind, my solution was, that's it. We're done breastfeeding. And I don't care if she cries. I'm going to put her in a crib. And I am just done, like, at my limit. And my husband sort of had to remind me, and I'm really grateful for him doing this now. Not so much at the time. But he reminded me of our decision to gently parent our child and that we've taken this approach thus far, and we don't want to, like, throw that all out the window just because you're tired. Not to say that that's not important, but there's got to be a better solution. Finally, in my research, I came across a website about Dr. J. Gordon. And I'm like, how did I never ever hear about him before? Dr. Sears is always like my attachment parenting like go-to guru, but I'd never heard of Dr. J. Gordon. I'm going to put a link below to the schedule that I use, and it's actually a nighttime weaning schedule specifically for breastfeeding, obviously, co-sleeping families. It's like the heavens opened up and provided me this link to this website. Amazing. My goal was to have her not necessarily wean entirely. I didn't mind nursing her once to go to bed, but I wanted her to learn to sleep through the night and to help her fall asleep on her own. So that was my mission. So at this point, it's like phase 1. I'm in the process of how do I get some sleep at night? At first, I thought that the solution would be to literally remove me from the equation. So have me sleep in another room. Like I would put Esme to bed and then have my husband come in and sleep with her at night. Now, after discussing this with my husband, I realized that he was super stressed about this because he's like, I don't have any boobs to help her with. Like, what if she's crying? And I started to realize that this was going to be really too stressful on both my husband and Esme. So I thought, okay, that's not going to work. So I thought, you know what? Just bite the bullet and let's just do this. So following Dr. J's suggestion, essentially how it works is the first 3 nights, you basically nurse your child to sleep as you normally would, and you do your regular winding down nighttime routine. If they wake up a few times before 11 p.m., you can still nurse them back to sleep. Then at 11 p.m., that's it. No more yum yum. We call it yum yum in this house. So there's no more. So between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., there is no breast. You don't offer the breast. However, when they wake up, obviously they're going to be looking for it, and they are not accustomed to falling asleep on their own. And so you can offer cuddles, hold them, do whatever you think works to basically help them fall back asleep. Then the next set of 3 nights, same thing. You nurse them to sleep. If they wake up before 11, you're welcome to nurse them back to sleep. However, between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., you no longer offer the breast. And the last thing is, you can hug your child, you can cuddle them, but you have to put them down awake so that they start learning to fall asleep. And Dr. J suggests that the next 4 nights, so this is your last stretch, don't pick up your child when he wakes up or he or she wakes up between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. What you're going to do is you can talk to them gently, you can tickle them, you can rub their back, sing a song, but again, you don't pick them up because you're trying to erase this breastfeeding to sleep habit, right? You don't want to create a new habit where now you have to like pick up your baby and rock them to sleep at like 22 months old. That baby is a little bit heavy. So that is the process. The first night was rough. It was hell. It was a lot of screaming. We're talking like back flipping, arching. It was crazy. I must admit, one thing I did to somewhat prepare myself is I every night will bring in a bottle of water, like in her bottle. She doesn't take a bottle, but like a sippy bottle with a straw. We bring in the water, and I put pillows along the bed, like the bed frame, and then along the wall because she was flailing. You know when a child gets angry, flailing and kicking and screaming and like arms hitting, and I'm thinking the girl's gonna give herself a concussion and knock herself out, and then we're like in a whole other drama story, you know what I mean? So introduce a lovey. So I bought this little kitty and we named her Lucy, not a real kitty, just a toy, and it's something that we bring to bed every night, and we made a big deal about it, and did you give Lucy a smooch, and did you give her some water and tuck her into bed, so that when she would wake up and try to get in my pajamas and try to get at the boobies, I could offer her Lucy and be like, oh, did you cuddle Lucy, and try to like take the distraction off of me and onto something else. It kind of worked, it kind of didn't, but it's another option for you to try. So every time she woke up, I would offer her water, and eventually what starts to happen is your child realizes like, I don't want to get up just for water. Like, where's the fun in that? So they start realizing like, it's not really that great of a deal, so I'm just going to try and sleep through it, and that's ultimately what happens, but it's a bit of a journey. It's just a week though, just 1 week. So by the end of the week, I would put her down at 8 o'clock, our usual time, nurse her. I generally crawl into bed at some point between 10 and 11, and if she stirs, which started to happen less and less, I would offer her the breast, but essentially she would sleep between 11 and 6, and our day generally starts at around 7:30ish, so it started to where she would sometimes wake up at 6 and I would nurse her back to sleep, and then we basically made it to 7:30 on her own, which was amazing. When it comes to how to comfort your child when they're crying, honestly, that's going to be very unique to your child, because the way that you do things is obviously different from the way that I do things. But things that I do and did that worked, I would sing a song, something that was rather monotonous and repetitive. It's like, it kind of literally lulls them into sleep, hence the word lullaby. But yes, I would do Mary Had a Little Lamb, Row, Row Your Boat, which by the way, Row, Row should have way more than one verse, or at least I only know one verse. And I would tickle the tummy or tickle the legs, you know, just like that gentle tickle on the body. And then I would offer snuggles. And I would say, you want to snuggle? And in she would come. Interestingly enough, a habit she acquired over the course of that week was that she started to stick her hand in my shirt and just hold the breast. Now, at first I found this very uncomfortable, but I started to realize whatever, it's working, and she would fall back asleep with her hand on my breast, and then I could remove her hand and go back to sleep. Or I would just fall asleep, you know, one of the two. And ultimately, it ended up sort of replacing the breastfeeding. So she would wake up and say, yum, yum, stick a hand down the shirt, and then fall back asleep. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even care. It's like, I'm getting sleep. Who cares? We have a few spare bedrooms in our place. And so my husband was able to actually get rest in another room while I went through this process with Esme. So it wasn't like the whole family was disrupted of sleep. So in the day, my husband was able to actually like really take over, obviously if he was home, and really be able to help with Esme when I was feeling like a little worn out from those first few nights. Like I said, I'm going to include the link to Dr. Jay Gordon's website below for his sleep pattern changing suggestions, his tips and tricks. And if you follow it true to form, then I really think you're going to see positive results. I wish you luck. I send you patience, but you can do this. You can persevere through it. I was able to answer most things in the video, but if you have any specific questions that I didn't touch on, please leave a comment below. You're welcome to message me on Facebook, or I have an email address listed below. Feel free to send me an email there, and I'll try my best to help you out and offer you any support that I can, because I know it's not an easy decision to do such a big change, but if you're ready, I highly recommend it. As of October 1st, I am no longer breastfeeding Esme, and it is officially, what is it, the 5th today? So we're getting close to the 5th, the 4th. It must be at least October 5th, and we have officially fully weaned. So I'm going to be putting out another video on how we phased out those last 2 feedings, because I was still nursing her for nap time and nursing her down at night. But that was it. So keep an eye out for that, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye guys!